Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is your shortcut to getting really well informed without drowning in all the noise out there. Today, we've got a pretty unique challenge lined up. We're not just, breaking down a complex topic. We're actually going to build something specific, a really potent, concise news hook designed to grab attention fast.
Exactly. And the interesting part for you listening is seeing how powerful a story can be when it's carefully put together. Even with tight limits, we've got this stack of sources, articles, research, news bits covering recent world events, and also how conservative media has evolved.
Right. So our mission is to pull out the key bits of info, and then this is the twist, shape them into a 90-second news hook. From a specific angle, a conservative viewpoint, it's all about showing how these media narratives get built in, in the world we live in today, saturated with info.
Yeah. And that hook, it needs to be punchy. About 180, maybe 200 words, sharp opening line, maybe 4 or 5 quick sentences laying out the main conflict. Needs to be easy to grasp, like 8th grade level reading, active verbs, strong language, and just one statistic, max. So quite the constraint.
It really is. So first we'll dig into all the source material, find those key pieces. Then at the end, we'll actually present the hook we've crafted. You'll see the whole process, raw info to finish narrative. Okay, so let's unpack this first part. Before we even touch the hook, we need to understand the media landscape itself. What exactly is conservative media in the U.S.? And maybe more importantly, how's it changed over time to shape how we see things today?
Well, fundamentally, you're looking at news outlets, commentators, platforms that present things from a conservative, or you could say right-wing perspective. Often they're explicitly positioning themselves against what they see as a liberal biases in other more mainstream media.
Right.
And it's not just one thing. It spans everything, right? Internet, talk radio, print, TV journalism. It's quite diverse.
And it's got history. It's not like it just popped up yesterday. Our sources point out that even way back, before the 1960s, you had mainstream papers like the Wall Street Journal, Chicago Tribune, the Hearst papers after 34, even Time and Fortune magazines. They had conservative leanings.
That's right. But then you see the founding of specific activist magazines. Human Events in 44, The Freeman in 1950, and then National Review in 55 by William F. Buckley Jr. and William Rusher. That one became really key.
But something really shifted, didn't it? Around the 60s, maybe into the 80s. It feels like that's when it really became a distinct force.
Absolutely. A pivotal shift. You had figures like Vice President Spiro Agnew back in the late 60s really hammering the media, calling them elitist, liberal. That set a very confrontational tone.
Ah, right, Agnew.
And that happened right around the time of a huge regulatory change, something called the Fairness Doctrine.
A Fairness Doctrine, yeah. That rings a bell. Not everyone remembers that, I bet. What was the deal with that again?
Well, it started in 1949. Basically, it required broadcasters, radio, TV, to present controversial issues in a way that included different viewpoints. Balance, essentially. The Supreme Court even upheld it in 1969, but then it got abolished in 1987.
And that was significant.
Oh, hugely significant. Many analysts point to the end of the Fairness Doctrine as a major factor in, the increasing political polarization we've seen since. Because once you remove that requirement for balance, outlets could just lean hard into one perspective. It helped create those echo chambers we talk about.
And that's when talk radio exploded, right? Conservative talk radio specifically.
Exactly. AM radio frequencies weren't being used as much. The Fairness Doctrine was gone. And suddenly you had hosts like Rush Limbaugh, later Sean Hannity. They found massive audiences, people who felt perhaps ignored by other media. They became incredibly influential, really changing the political conversation.
So it moved from print to radio.
Yeah.
And then digital, I assume.
Precisely. Fox News launched and became dominant on cable. Then came the rise of blogs in the early 2000s. And these weren't just diaries. Remember the Swift Boat veterans stuff against John Kerry? That blew up largely thanks to blogs. Or Memagate, about George W. Bitter's National Guard service, broken by a blog called Captain's Quarters.
Right, I remember those controversies.
And now you've got these big digitally native outlets, like Breitbart or Ben Shapiro's The Daily Wire. They often bypass traditional media channels entirely.
It's interesting how connected it seems to be to its audience base. Ezra Klein made that point, didn't he? That right-wing media sort of grew with the grassroots. And it helps empower candidates who maybe aren't the party establishment's first choice. A real feedback loop.
That's a perfect way to put it, a feedback loop. And understanding that helps us see how certain global events get framed. Because many recent events really tap into themes that resonate strongly within that conservative media space. Things like national security, accountability, threats to traditional values. So for our hook, we need to think about how these specific events get filtered through that lens.
Okay, let's pivot to those events then. The Israel-Hamas conflict is obviously huge, and the sources detail some truly horrifying specifics. The Bibas family, it's just awful. October 7th, 2023. A 9-month-old baby, Kafir, his 4-year-old brother Ariel, their mother Shiri, all taken. The father, Yarden, was eventually released February 2025 after 484 days.
Unimaginable.
And then the news about the children. In February 2025, Hamas hands over 4 coffins, saying it's the bodies of Ariel and Kafir. Israeli intelligence confirmed it. The children were executed. And then the body Hamas claims was the mother, Shiri. It wasn't even her. It's cruel.
It's almost incomprehensible cruelty. Netanyahu himself said, the cruelty of Hamas has no boundaries. He called it criminal Nazi abuse. And it wasn't just them. We saw those disturbing videos of other hostages, Ebiatar David, Ron Breslavsky looking emaciated. Others released, like Ohad Ben-Ami, Eli Sharabi, or Levy, showed clear signs of mistreatment. And the number. 49 hostages still in Gaza, 27 of them confirmed dead.
That number, 49, that feels like it could be our statistic for the hook. It's stark.
It is stark, and that kind of brutality feeds directly into a narrative about clear-cut evil, existential threats, and the need for absolute resolve. Very potent themes.
Right. And shifting back home to the U.S., we see themes of strong leadership, accountability, like the confirmation of Kash Patel as FBI director, February 2025. It was close. 51-49 vote. He's known as a strong Trump loyalist.
Yeah.
And his promise to rebuild the Bureau and hunt down those who seek to harm Americans.
That language is very direct. Rebuild, hunt down. It speaks to restoring order, taking decisive action. Critics worried about politicizing the FBI, sure. But from a conservative viewpoint, as cited in the sources, he's seen as the right person at the right time for reform. That's strong framing.
And this fits into the broader foreign policy picture too, right? The America First approach.
It seems to. The sources mention Trump's unconventional efforts regarding the Russia-Ukraine war, like the reported demand for Ukraine's mineral wealth, and halting U.S. aid to countries like India, South Africa. Mike Waltz, the national security advisor, mentioned Trump's frustration with Zelensky and the need for Ukraine to approve a deal giving the U.S. access to those minerals.
So very transactional, prioritizing national interest as perceived over maybe traditional alliances.
Exactly. It's about strength, perceived national benefit, maybe less intervention unless there's a clear direct payoff. The language unconventional efforts demanding mineral wealth is quite blunt.
And then there's the threat of global extremism and how it connects to domestic threats, protecting order, values. The sources list some really disturbing incidents. July 2024, UK. A teenager attacks a kid's dance event, Taylor Swift themed no less, kills 3 girls, sparks riots against newcomers. Just chaos.
A real breakdown of safety, of order, and it's not isolated. December 2024, Germany, that Christmas market attack, driver plows into the crowd, 6 killed, over 300 injured.
Horrific.
And then there was the Berlin Holocaust Memorial attack, February 2023, linked to someone sharing ISIS ideology. It brings the threat right into symbolic, sensitive spaces.
It feels like a pattern of vulnerability.
That's certainly a narrative you can draw. Threats to public spaces, cultural events, core memorials. And it's not just Europe. July 2025, Canada. Arrests of men plotting to seize land, form a militia. July 2025, Congo. Islamic State claims a church attack, killing over 40 worshippers.
And the sources even mention the Muslim Brotherhood's alleged strategy from a 1991 memo, describing a plan to, quote, destroy Western civilization from within.
Yes, that idea of internal sabotage. It frames the threat not just as external terrorism, but as something potentially undermining society from the inside, destroying Western civilization from within. That's a powerful, alarming phrase.
Okay, wow. So we've got all these pieces, the media context, the specific events, the powerful language used. Now, the hook itself, this is where we bring it all together, 90 seconds. Conservative viewpoint, emphasizing those themes. Traditional values, strong leadership, security, skepticism about threats, both foreign and domestic.
Right. And the challenge is selection. What makes the cut? What's the most impactful opening? Which details convey that urgency and perspective using only our source material. We need that punchy start. Then those 4 or 5 sentences using active verbs. And that one statistic, the 49 hostages, seems like the strongest candidate.
Got it. It's about distilling everything we've discussed into something sharp, focused, and, well, attention-grabbing from that specific viewpoint. Okay, I think we're ready. Here's the synthesized 90-second news hook, crafted from our sources, aiming for that conservative lens. Is the world as we know it under assault, not just from foreign adversaries, but from within? From the barbaric cruelty of Hamas, seen vividly in the unspeakable tragedy of the Bebas children returned in coffins with their mother still missing, a stark reminder that 49 hostages remain captive in Gaza, to the shocking rise of extremist violence, targeting innocents in our own streets and across Europe. Meanwhile, our nation grapples with forces that undermine trust in our most vital institutions. Yet a new wave of leadership, like the FBI's new director Kash Patel, steps forward, vowing to restore accountability and hunt down those who threaten our way of life. This isn't just about headlines. It's about the fight for our fundamental values and the strength to confront both foreign terror and internal decay. The stakes could not be higher for a world seeking stability and truth. So there it is. What's the takeaway here?
Today, we didn't just, talk about global events or conservative media. We actually went through the process of crafting a message for impact. It really shows you how much thought, how much selection goes into even a short news segment, how details shape the story.
Absolutely. And hopefully this deep dive highlights for you the power of framing information, how knowing the source material helps you see the nuances, even in a quick summary. It really encourages you to think critically about the news you hear, the stories you read, why these details, why this angle.
Yeah. So next time you hear a news hook, radio, TV, online, wherever, maybe just pause for a second. Ask yourself, what's the perspective here? What's being emphasized? And, just as importantly, what might be getting left out?
That's the key. And always remember, knowledge is best when you understand it, when you can apply it. There's always more to learn, always different angles to consider. That's what gives you a richer picture of everything.